I don't know what it is about 2026, but for some reason my local Shortlines, K&O especially, have been absolutely blessing us with insane consists for the entire year so far. Even in these treacherous times of assigned power on the railroad where everything has to be on a specific train all the time, there have still been some crazy outliers that have been happening constantly throughout the year. And for some reason throughout this summer, there have been an influx of these crazy consists, and I've been fortunate enough to catch several. And so without further ado, let's get straight into today's video. For some reason, we're going to start off this video with something that has nothing to do with K&O or being a crazy consist, and it's something I teased in the last video and I thought I'd throw in here because it's a train that I haven't showed you guys and I wanted to show it to you guys. On Friday, July 3rd, I went over to WAMX 3829's house to play some card games with him and CXMX, but as soon as I got there, CXMX came running through his living room and told me, "We're going to the hump because there's a UP bear table train." And so they dragged me to 17th Street to see this UP bear table train. What it actually ended up being was a BNSF bear table train with UP power. Yeah, super creative stuff, guys. Good job. I'm so proud of you. Anyways, after we sat there being bored for about 10 minutes, it finally got a move on and left the hump. Sometime after all those shenanigans on July 8th, I got a text from a friend that SKOL had one of the non-PTC SD40s leading 302 on the runaround, and so me and my dad, despite having something to do that evening, decided to rush over to South Yard to see if we could catch this locomotive leading. Well, GMD is still going to be leading. It appears, because there's 41, 48. When we got there, we found out that it was indeed still leading. The locomotive in question was WAMX 4157, one of several locomotives that SKOL purchased from Helm Leasing towards the beginning of last decade. Might have even been earlier, I don't really remember. These locomotives aren't very common visitors to Wichita since they don't have positive train control and can't lead 302 from Winfield, but if the train to Wichita is going to be long and they need to add a third unit, they'll just tack one of the not PTC units at the back of the consist and switch it out when the train's ready to go back to Winfield. This is the first time that I've seen one of these lead since 2020, which was before PTC was made a requirement for this SKOL train. Anyways, that's enough yapping about the backstory of the GMDs. When I found 302, they had been sitting there for about 10 minutes, and they continued to sit there for another 10 minutes until they finally started moving forward, giving 5 honks of warning, letting me know they were going to be going both forward and backward, and they pulled across the crossing at the road I was at, where I got a nice low shot of the GMD coming around the corner. Unfortunately, this is a quiet zone, so I had wayside horns screaming at me the entire time. Skipping over a spontaneous outing a few weeks later where I saw a few cool trains that will be featured in the next video, I would go back trackside on July 17th. The 17th is my friend Wichita Railfanning's birthday, so to celebrate him on this special day, me, WAMX 3829, and the Train Whisperer would all go hang out with him for a few hours downtown. When me, the Train Whisperer, and WAMX 3829 arrived, the mid-train DPUs of Union Pacific's MWTFW rolled by. Immediately after that train cleared, a BNSF empty grain train with a KCS Jivo trailing third rolled into town. After about a 40-minute wait with no action, another eastbound grain train would pass, this one having a -9 liter. Following right on the tail of this grain train was another one with a LARP 9 leading. Lately, it's become an inside joke in the Kansas foamer community to call GEVOs with K3LAs LARP 9s. I'm sure you can guess why. Following the passing of this train, we would all move to the hump for Local 9. And also by this point, the birthday boy had arrived to join us in the tomfoolery. Local 9 would do a funny and stop on the hump, and then an eastbound flew around the corner with a -9 leading and an NS trailing third, so I booted up the drone as fast as I could. And that was the last train we would see for the next 3 hours, until KNO finally ran to the BNSF with 3832 leading. This thing has a pretty odd history. It was repainted in 2023 to serve as the poster child for KNO at each year's Railfest event at the Great Plains Transportation Museum. So you'd think, oh, they repainted that unit because it's a good unit and they want to make it a good display unit for the event. Nope, the reason they chose this unit is because it sucks. This thing is worthless, to quote the crew of the KNO on this evening, so taking it out of service for a weekend doesn't really do anything to hinder operations. I've seen this thing lead up the hump once before in August of 2023, but other than that I haven't really seen it outside of museum events that were sponsored by KNO, and so getting the chance to see it go up the hump, and leading no less, was a pretty awesome one. They had a pretty sizable train of 38 cars in this day, so we were all hoping for a big smoke and spark show as it came up the hump, and that we got. There were some sparks as they came around the curve and more as they passed us. I'm glad I finally got a shot of KNO shooting sparks because that's something they're kind of known for around here. Anyways, I'll shut up now and turn down the music so you can hear the wonderful chugging of this old GP38. Also, as they pass by, watch for the conductor throwing a bag of Swedish fish at us.